Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, welcome into the program. We hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's show. Today we have the one, the only, Mr. Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent here for the program, where we talk about anything and everything kind of science and technology, not there we go. Science and technology, and everyone, hey, it's going to be a great show. It always is with Ralph, and we'll bring him on in just a moment. Now, with that being said, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including links to past shows, future shows, show notes. Those are going to be very important because Ralph does a great job putting these together, where if you want to find out more information or stories that we don't get to, hey, the show notes is going to be very, very useful. While you're there, also check out the articles and reviews, the podcast directory, and of course, you can also find links to social media. Give us a like, give us a follow, and hey, we'll also have a link to Ralph's website if you want to see all of Ralph's work. He does a lot with ourselves, and of course, he does a lot with I think it's KEX. Just make sure I get this right. Yeah, KEX, Portland, Oregon, the Mark Mason Show. You know, he's keeping himself busy, and yeah, we're really grateful to have him on every single month. So let's go ahead and bring on Ralph just to, hey, get the show started. So as I said before, he's been a longtime Computer America contributor. He was the voice of Intel Digital Minute, and of course, he's an author, and hey, just an all-around nice guy. Ralph, welcome back onto the program. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. And this is a big week for the Bond family because my brother James has a big movie out this week.
Oh, yeah? What's that? Please share.
Yeah, what is the title of it? Something to die for or something? Oh, I'm terrible. I should know that. I'm embarrassed. I was reading about it in the newspaper this morning.
This is his Daniel Craig, I think. His
last Bond film, and there's so much speculation about what will they do with the franchise going forward. Maybe have a female Bond character. That would be an interesting twist. I don't know.
Well, and obviously Bond has been a thing since the 60s, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah, way back.
yeah. There's been tons of Bond, and I guess it's always been kind of a posh, sometime UK, sometime American. With of course, my generation's Bond was. Oh my God, not Craig. Pierce Brosnan. There we go.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, Sean Connery. I think wasn't Sean Connery the first one? I think. I should hope my Bond movie.
Sean Connery might be the first Bond. Let's see, the first James Bond. Who that would be Sean Connery. Yeah. Sean Connery, but yeah, I think every generation has their own, kind of their Bond that they, that they kind of had. So going forward, I mean, let's face it, Ralph, just with the times, and I know it's an iconic character, but some diversity in the Bond, because the Bond is a position. 007 is a position. It's not, it's not the typical white male, kind of role that they've had. So
exactly,
I'm betting you're right. It's either going to be female, person of color, or, something different?
I think it could be fun. I think it could have some really fun with this. By the way, the title of the film is No Time to Die. I just Googled it real quick here because I felt embarrassed.
No Time to Die. There you go.
Not to know my brother's movie? I mean, come on.
From what I know, I think Craig already has his tickets, so he's going to be going to see that.
There you go. That's
weekend.
Cool.
But
I'll tell you
in theater.
a funny. Yeah, Ben, I'll tell you a funny little personal story. So back in 1971, way back, when I was at Fort Ord in the basic training for the Army, fun times in those days. That was when the Vietnam War was going on. I didn't go to Vietnam. I was National Guard. But the bond thing is such an ingrained cultural thing that the drill instructors and then the rest of the troops in my company and my platoon all called me Little Jim, James's little brother, Little Jimmy. And when my mom came to my graduation from boot camp months later, she said, well, all these guys are saying, hey, Jimmy, hey, Jim, what's it? I said, yeah, just don't even try to get over it. They just can't get it through their head that anybody would have a cool name Bond at the end, but put Ralph at the front end. What's that all about?
Well, and obviously it's always fun how those nicknames kind of come about. I'm sure that your parents are very confused. Like, we gave you a beautiful name. It's Ralph. Why would anyone call you Jimmy? Yeah, that's actually very funny. So, but yeah, bonds aside, we have the best Bond here with us to talk about, our topics. And when out there watching the video portion, you can see that there we have the show notes, and we're going to get to the stories here in just a moment. But Ralph, your mission here with your segment here on our show is to really highlight the advancements in science and tech. So, when you look for stories, what do you look for?
Yeah, I'm looking for things that have flown under the radar of the mass media culture. I don't mean that in any derogatory way. It's just that they're fun, interesting science and technology advancements or experiments or research and so forth that are important, that are or quirky and goofy and weird too, that just don't get the kind of attention. So I'm like a radar sweep. Every day I'm looking at the news services. I have a whole variety of them that I keep an eye on, science news and all kinds of things like that. And then cherry pick stories that I think are fun and interesting to share to raise awareness. And some are very profound medical advances, that kind of stuff. Others are more kind of in the kind of quirky, goofy thing. Mark Mason, my friend at KEX Radio here in Portland, that you mentioned his show that I do a segment for, says sometimes, Ralph, I look at the titles of your stories and your notes that you send to me in advance, and I think, are these real, or is Ralph going to say at the end of the story, guess what? It was all made up. Some of it's so out there.
You've never done it yet, but maybe for next April Fool's, maybe you will, come up with a fake picture.
I like it.
And do fake bullet points, and that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And of course, and Ralph sources all of his different stories, so you can see them there. Maybe the source could be on your site because you have a site there as well. So that next year, maybe we'll set that up. That'll be fun. So, but hey, I think enough banter. We have tons of stories. You have pages and pages. This is an exceptionally long set of show notes that we have here. So I think we should just go ahead and get to these. So story number one. So the first two stories, in fact, really are kind of in the Elon Musk camp. So here's the first headline. Tesla wants to build its own in-house capability to recycle 92% of a car's battery cell material. Another example of forward thinking, in my opinion. This comes from electric.com, a story by Fred Lambert. And this is really kind of neat. So Tesla recently released details about its latest efforts to deploy large-scale battery recycling. And they claim they can recover about 92% of battery cell materials. So important, Ben, as you know, I know you know this, but the kind of hit on our mineral supplies on the earth as we're now getting more and more of these batteries being produced is very significant. So if you can recycle 92% of a spent batteries materials, wow, that's fantastic. So Tesla has worked for years with third-party battery recyclers to ensure their batteries do not land up in a landfill. And that's important too.
And now the company wants to add their own in-house recycling capability. And the goal is to recycle valuable battery materials, including nickel, copper, and cobalt, back into the manufacturing process, a true recycling situation. And the company noted that large-scale battery material recovery and recycling will be far less expensive than purchasing new raw materials for battery cell manufacturing. And that's especially true as more and more electric vehicles, more and more competition for limited mineral supplies will drive the price up, right? And so, and I love this last little nugget here. And last year, the company says it recycled 1,300 tons of nickel, 400 tons of copper, and 80 tons of cobalt. So salute to Elon and Tesla for this effort. I think this is something that all the automakers should follow suit.
Yeah, not too long ago we had the global e-waste consortium, kind of an organization obviously trying to focus on e-waste, and they laid out a couple dirty truths about the whole e-waste system, which I'm glad that Tesla is doing this in-house, because Ralph, what we kind of learned on the program was that a lot of the e-waste that happens in the world normally was sent to China. China then sent it off to parts like Malaysia, parts of India, other third world countries, and there they either stripped it very non-sustainably or just dumped it in the ocean. It was really, really awful.
Good Lord.
So and of course with COVID, I'm sure the disruption in supply chains is not helping anything.
Right.
Shipping it off to another country, and that's what a lot of e-waste here in the United States does, is you pay an extra $10, they just ship it off to somewhere else, and then they deal with it either in a harmful way or just not in a very good way.
Yep.
Tesla does it in-house. That is actually really, really important. And hey, it makes perfect sense with their, you and I have followed closely with their solar energy, their battery capabilities, their cars.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense. So it's really great to see.
I agree. I think it's a great story. And story number two, again, something for Elon here. Elon Musk's SpaceX wants to bring Starlink internet service to large trucks, RVs, boats, and airplanes. And this story I picked up from PC Magazine, story by Michael Cann. And here we go. Recently, SpaceX filed an application with the FCC to get clearance to bring its satellite-based Starlink internet service to large trucks, RVs, boats, and aircraft to customers in the United States. Now, this, Ben, but the Starlink service currently provides broadband speeds of up to 150 megabits per second to people's residences using more than 1,600 satellites currently in low Earth orbit. That's mind-boggling in its own right. Starlink customers use a dish mounted on their home's roof to receive high-speed broadband. And it looks like a dish TV dish, right? It's that kind of a thing. And however, their internet access to these residential customers is restricted to their home and the area immediately surrounding their residence. So SpaceX now wants permission to operate the same dish technology for moving vehicles, again, including large trucks, RVs, boats, and aircraft. But time out, what about existing Tesla passenger cars? And I see more and more of them every day out here.
Yeah, me too.
In a recent tweet, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk noted that Starlink tech won't be coming to Tesla passenger vehicles as the satellite dish is too big. But it's doable for aircraft, ships, large trucks, and RVs. So I think this is an interesting development.
Yeah, I know that needing that satellite dish is, a little prohibitive. I think that a lot of people were hoping that, they could just pull their cell phone out anywhere and they would have internet service, kind of anywhere. But being able to have that, at least for RVs and trucks. Ralph, have you had any experience with satellite internet? Like, that's not obviously, the soon to come SpaceX and Starlink. Have you had any experience with satellite internet?
Not
before?
Personally. No, I have not personally used that myself, but I've of course read about it and heard about it. But it would be kind of fun to experience. My wife right now on our Wi-Fi home network, she's getting about 140, 150 megabits per second download, which is adequate for what she's doing. Of course, she'd like to have a little more speed.
Right.
But other than just kind of having a speed equation, a familiarity, I don't have any personal experience with the satellite.
Most satellite, and of course on a perfect, clear, crisp day, because not a lot of people use it, and the people that use it, it's not like you're expected to have super fast video streaming, in the middle of nowhere. No one really expects that. I think that's, they're still operating on like the sub 5 megabits per second, and in a lot of cases they're only getting 750 kilobits a second. Like that's not uncommon at all. And then of course, Ralph, as soon as you introduce clouds and maybe even the errant bird that sits in your dish, it's just not a great experience. Like it definitely needs a lot of improvement. So Starlink, it's great. And to everyone who's kind of worrying about this idea that you have thousands of satellites blocking our view of the stars, I think that they've also addressed that in a pretty good way. But I know that a lot of people are a little worried about that as well. But
sure.
Hey. Yep. Oh, and I don't know if Ralph, I didn't get a chance to thumb through these before the show, but did you have one about the James Webb Telescope?
No, not this series. No.
Yeah, I didn't think I saw one in there, but so the James Webb Telescope is supposed to be approved to go later this year, so I'm really excited for that.
That's
as well.
Cool too. You bet.
Yeah. So but hey, that's all space stuff. Now, story number 3, though, we can go ahead and skip along to story number 3.
Yeah. So here's the headline. Comes from the Guardian newspaper in the United Kingdom. Headline: Researchers in the UK say they've developed a way to power aircraft engines using hydrogen fuel. And this is a story by Gwen Topham. So first, a quick reminder. Today, there are basically 3 approaches to create non-polluting aircraft. First, creating greener fuels for large aircraft currently in service, which I think is a great thing to try. Second is all electric flight, which appears feasible for smaller aircraft and short haul hops. And you and I have talked about this over the last couple of years quite a few times. And then the third option they contend is hydrogen fuel. Now, researchers at the Cranfield University Centre for Propulsion Engineering in the UK are conducting tests to see if hydrogen could replace traditional fuels for global large aircraft aviation. And the scientists created a small-scale test aircraft engine, shown in the photo in the show notes, by the way, an engine simulator, and demonstrated successful ignition and safe combustion of pure hydrogen and air at high temperature and pressure, producing no carbon emissions, only heat and water as exhaust. And the research team believes, here's their belief, they think that hydrogen will become a viable part of global aviation sometime between 2040 and 2050, as fossil fuels are increasingly taxed to discourage use. So this is very interesting. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But I thought it was fun to hear about this attempt to bring hydrogen fuel to aircraft.
Yeah, hydrogen has surprisingly become more of a conversation point.
Yes,
Ralph, I don't know if you've you've pulled a lot of articles about this kind of thing, but with all the focus on batteries, I was really. I was really worried that hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cells would be pushed by the wayside in favor of lithium-ion batteries and batteries in general. But this is exciting. And of course, the more, it's not just about using it in cars or scooters or anything like that. It's about, like you have here, airplanes, using it for everything.
Yeah. And by the way, in the field of hydrogen experimentation, Toyota is building an experimental city. I don't recall if we talked about this maybe last month.
I don't think we did.
Too long ago. But look that up. Google that. This plan they have to create a hydrogen fuel energized, if you will, test experimental city, small scale, like several thousand people kind of thing.
I think we did talk about this. It was months ago. Yeah,
I think so. A really cool concept. So have good hope and faith. I think we're going to see more and more attention to hydrogen, to your point, because it would be such a better thing than the battery technology that has great promise, but also has a lot of earth impact issues that we all know all too well.
Right. And as far as I know, like one of the real main issues with hydrogen is the fact that it is the smallest, kind of element that we have, and it's very prone to leaks. So, it's there are challenges, but hey, a hydrogen leak is not really as bad as an oil leak, as we saw in California this week. And
oh my gosh, no kidding!
It can be pretty bad, but hey, we can hope that that we get it all under control. So, boy, story number 4. There's no good way. It's kind of a crappy topic, but there's no good way to kind of broach the subject. Ralph, I worry about brain and fecal transplants being in the same sentence. Please enlighten us.
Yes, this is great, and this is one of those stories. Like again, my friend Mark Mason at KEX Radio here in Portland said, "Are you kidding me? Is this a joke?" So anyway, I digress. This story, though, comes from Smithsonian Magazine, story by Corinne Wetzel. I'll paraphrase the headline: Fecal transplants may reverse brain aging in mice. How could I resist that headline, right? Okay, so here's the deal. Scientists at the University College Cork, C-O-R-K, in Ireland may have found a poop-based solution for reversing aging, well, at least in mice. A new study published in the journal Nature Aging reveals that transplanting the microbiome found in the feces of younger mice into the gut of older mice can reverse cognitive declines associated with aging. That last part, reversing cognitive declines associated with aging, really got my attention. Because believe me, it's real to me. So time out. What's a microbiome? A microbiome is a colony of trillions of bacteria that live together, in a particular habitat. And scientists have known for decades that a healthy microbiome supports everything in us humans, from digestive health to immune system function. But the link possibly to aging was less clear. The researchers here, though, wanted to see if transplanting the robust fecal microbiome of young mice into older mice could possibly help reverse brain aging. So here's what they did. It just blows my mind. They started by taking fecal samples from 3 to 4 month old mice. And a 3 to 4 month old mouse is a young adult mouse by our standards, and then fed this disgusting slurry to geriatric 20-month-old mice. I'd forgotten how short the lifespan of mice is. It's kind of sad. Yeah. Anyway, after 8 weeks of fecal transplants, they discovered that this change in the gut microbiomes of the older mice caused the learning performance of the geriatric mice to resemble the learning capabilities of the young mice. Ding. The study was the first to suggest a link between gut health and age reversal in rodents. Now, reality check, everybody. The researchers noted that there's no evidence that this fecal implant technique would work on humans, but they say the results with the mice do suggest an important link between gut health and aging to be further researched, needless to say. So wacky story, but there you go.
Yeah, this was a topic that I've heard about for a couple of years, and I went out and found this article from Johns Hopkins University, where this brain gut connection. It's almost, and they called it
very good.
It's almost like the second brain. It's the enteric nervous system. Yeah. This idea that, as important as our head is, our guts are just as important. So, kind of remember that next time you're, kind of doing fast food. But yeah.
How many times are we finding out now in science that common phrases in our pop culture for centuries, like, I just have a bad feeling in my gut about that.
Trust your gut. Yeah.
Trust your gut, all those things. And it's so uncanny that sometimes you find out there's a scientific basis for this stuff. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, and of course those may be kind of coincident, but yeah, trusting your gut, and of course your gut being much more much more important than I think we've found. So I like your reality check. The fact that it's an area to further research, but it's an area that is growing more and more. So
fascinating stuff, actually.
I hope that leaves you with a good feeling in your gut. And hey, I honestly, being able to fix like certain parts of your immune system with things like this, I've heard good things, and I'm hoping that we hear more good things about that, because knowing how the body works, super important. So that was story number 4. How do you follow that up, Ralph? How do you follow that up?
I think this one's really fun. The next one I think is a lot of fun. So this comes from Yahoo News, and it was picked up by other services as well. Mm-hmm. But story here is, for the price of a luxury SUV, you could soon have your own personal aircraft without the need for a pilot's license. So that's
scary.
Scary and interesting and so forth. But I'll add you the Ralph twist to this at the end of the story. So here we go. If you look at the show notes, if you're lucky enough to be seeing us on screen, you can see the images of this aircraft. It's fascinating. We got a video too there as well. So recently, an all-electric vertical takeoff and landing single-person aircraft made by an outfit called Opener conducted 4 successful test flights at the Experimental Aircraft Association Air Venture 2021 event in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And that's the video you're seeing here that Ben is showing you. It's called the BlackFly, and the aircraft's frame, think of it like a capital letter I, and it consists of a cockpit with wings in the front and back, hence the I formation. So with 4 electrically powered propellers on each wing for a total of 8 propellers, the lightweight flying machine can lift off vertically like a helicopter. And once it's in the air, this part's really cool. Once it's in the air, the wings can be tilted at any angle to allow for more traditional airplane-like handling. It has a range of 25 miles on a single charge. That part blows my mind. Mm-hmm. And it can be operated at altitudes. It's allowable to be operated, let's put it that way, at altitudes of 100 feet or less, with the intent for recreational sport, and as a result does not require a pilot's license. And here's a really nifty feature. It can be completely controlled through its onboard computer system, including takeoff and landing assist and cruise control. And it even has a take me home, return to home button in case the operator gets lost. Now, they say the press release for this and the news services coverage of this says pricing was not really disclosed yet, but the company says it'll be about the cost of a luxury SUV. So it's going to be at least $60K and up. But the bit about recreational and so forth and so on, you think, okay, it's a one passenger super drone that can whatever.
Right.
But I immediately thought, oh my God, what if you have a disaster situation, a collapse or a fire situation or a bad emergency situation? You need to get a paramedic to somebody where you can't just easily drive in or walk in or whatever. But what if you could put that expert and their backpack of gear into one of these things, and they could fly to a site and render assistance? So to me, it's not just a toy, but has real, I think, meaningful potential for certain applications, again, like paramedics.
And of course, that lower price point, if it does reach somewhere in that $60,000, even $60,000 to $100,000, means that a lot of paramedics and other associations will be able to afford that and repurpose it for their own purposes. Ralph, have you ever heard Stand Up by Bill Burr by chance?
No.
He has a number of Netflix specials I highly recommend, but one of his specials was his kind of doomsday prepping kind of thing. Not so much hoarding food and weapons and things like that, but his thing was he went and took helicopter lessons because he feels like if there's ever an emergency situation where there's hordes just kind of hordes of zombies roaming around, he's going to get up in his helicopter and just kind of hover above the chaos and kind of fly away. So
he could use one of these.
Yeah, exactly. That's what kind of Bill Burr came to mind, a stand-up comedian who's like, I'm just going to bugger out of here, and he just takes off in his helicopter. But yeah, it's 25 miles. It doesn't seem that long, but hey, that's probably far enough to do the short trips. And
yeah, exactly.
I like I think the description for anyone out there, again, check out the show notes, 2 bars of propellers that are then joined in the middle by the cockpit where you would sit, a capital I formation, like you were saying. I'm wondering how, and I played the video, I didn't have the sound on. I wonder how loud these things are, because I think that's one thing that people don't really understand about drones if they haven't been around them. They're loud. Like people are wondering, drones are going to invade my privacy. Like, if you're outside and you hear something,
you're going to hear it.
Yeah, you're going to hear it. So I'm wondering how loud this thing's going to be. But
it's got to be pretty intense. But isn't it the handling, the video showing it, the maneuverability of this thing, to me is stunning. I just think this thing's a fascinating engineering achievement.
Is how are people not going to just see UFOs all the time in the next 10 years? It is so surreal to see this thing just suspend itself in the air like that. It's and
to think that there's a human being in that compartment there, it's just. And again, I stress, not to be too repetitive, but I think the serious, meaningful rescue possibilities or reconnaissance in a positive way for helping with emergency situations. I can't imagine this to me would be a beautiful application for something, or police situation. Who knows?
If it's truly that automated, and just to add one more kind of use case, not so much getting someone in, but getting someone out. And I'm sure in your neck of the woods, lots of hikers. Sometimes they get lost. There's search parties, things like that.
Oh yes.
They hover with helicopters and spot the person, but then they're like, oh, we got to leave them alone, and then we got to get in there on foot. Ralph, imagine if you could have something like this. You can't land a helicopter, but you could land this. And with all the computer technology, they just have to climb in and hit the return home button. And it lifts them out and takes them out.
Well, yes, exactly. No, it is actually, it seems at first like a trivia kind of rich person's silly toy. I think it's got great potential.
Absolutely. It's and part of me is like, how is this thing going to fly itself? That's not safe. But Ralph, remember, since you were last on, a couple very, very rich people went into space without an astronaut. I guess they're all technically astronauts now, but without a pilot. It was all completely automated.
There you go.
So if they can send people to space and back on a completely automated system, then this should be completely fair as well. Okay.
I agree.
Story number 5. I think you transitioned nicely from the mouse de-aging to the oversized drone department. Number 6, though. Let's the Hyperloop is something I've been trying to keep an eye on too, because it holds so much promise, yet development seems to have stalled in the kind of the testing phase, where, Ralph, I keep hearing test after test, success. Where are we now?
Well, yeah, exactly. And you've couched it properly. The next story, the headline here is Virgin Hyperloop released a new video showcasing their concept for a 670 mile per hour passenger pod system. And let's put in some reality checks right up front. This is not new news exactly. The idea of the Hyperloop and what Ben is showing you on the screen right now, we're not saying this is brand new news. What we're saying is what is new is this newly released concept video, which is a blast to watch, if nothing else. And so I picked this up from CNN, a story by Jack Guy, and Ben is showing you the video, which is just gorgeous. So Virgin Hyperloop recently released a new concept video showing its plans or vision for an above-ground transportation system comprised of passenger pods traveling within a network of near vacuum tubes. And the near vacuum environment within the tubes virtually eliminates aerodynamic drag, allowing the battery-powered passenger pods to reach speeds of up to 670 miles per hour while using very little power. So it's that near vacuum state that's really key here. In addition to near vacuum tubes, Virgin's vision for this futuristic transportation system includes magnetic levitation, a technology used in advanced high-speed rail projects since the 1970s in countries such as Japan and Germany. Now, magnetic levitation lifts a train car above a track as the magnet's poles push the train upward. And as shown in the video, the Virgin Hyperloop passenger pods will travel in convoys within a network of interconnecting tubes. And passenger pods, though, they can split off from a convoy and branch off into interconnecting tubes. Think of this just like a car leaving a freeway on an off ramp to pursue multiple destinations. That's the best way to visualize this. The Virgin Hyperloop is more than just a dream. In fact, after conducting hundreds of unmanned tests, the company completed its first test with passengers last year in November, according to a company press release announcing the new proof of concept video. So you raise the right challenges. Okay, this is all great. The video is fun to watch. The concept's very cool. Where are we at? Has any city or state raised their hand and said, let's go forward and build this thing? But I must say, my wife immediately said, wow, imagine at that speed, we could be in Seattle. We're in the Portland area, Portland, Oregon. We could be in Seattle in minutes.
Yeah, and it's probably definitely used for that case. I think that they had proposed one in like Texas that would connect a lot of the major cities in Texas with like Boulder, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado. And I was just, every time we talk about this, I always try to convey to people that it kind of shrinks your world. That if you could hop on one of these trains, pay $15, whatever it may be, and then you decide, oh, I'm going to go somewhere, 200 miles away for lunch, and then I'll be back at my workplace. It's only a 10-minute commute each way. Like, yeah. It could be just that quick. And it really, suddenly you can have workers from Austin, Texas working in Denver, Colorado and still living in Austin, Texas. It shrinks your world by so much to be able to travel at these fast speeds. While you were going over that, I was trying to find the, kind of the safety record of the maglev trains in China and Japan.
Oh,
and
right.
They are near spotless. Like the ability to run magnetic levitation, maglev trains in Japan, like they had their first accident ever since from the 80s, back in 2015. And that's because some of the equipment started to degrade. Like it's near spotless. And I guess the only difference here is that you take the maglev train, which is almost a perfect technology. Like it's never really hurt anyone. And then you're just adding this vacuum tube. And that seems to be, hey, Ralph, these trains are already traveling at 300 plus miles an hour. Take away the air resistance, and suddenly you get 600, 700, 800. So,
you got it.
As usual, Ralph, it's a technology that's already proven, and it just needs to get a little bit better before we can use it. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope that we see a lot of these in the U.S. because it seems like such a great alternative. Yeah.
And I have to throw in a little history nugget. Eisenhower, who after the war becomes President Eisenhower, was so impressed with the German roadway system that helped the Germans in the Second World War shuttle troops and equipment quickly throughout their area, that he wanted to have the interstate highway system for the United States, and the rest is history, right? So its original kind of motivation was military in a way. Right. One could say, what if this would allow us, first you have major arteries. You're not going to connect every little town with this. This would be too expensive. Right. But what if you could connect, the East Coast to the West Coast with one super Hyperloop and blah, blah, blah. You could make a case that would help us shuttle resources and troops, not only for military, but for disaster response, getting something down to Louisiana the next time, God forbid, a horrible hurricane happens, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all those things to think about too.
The interstate system is one of those kind of public works projects that have just had untold benefits. And hey, maybe and I'm sure that the first one was probably the train system, the railway system, and then the interstate system. And hey, this could be the third step after that, or at least the next step. Looking forward to that for sure. And hey, just getting people off the road, but. Okay, we go on about that forever. Okay, so that's story number 5. Ralph, we're about 40 minutes in, 6 stories in. We're making good timing. I think we'll be able to get to some of them, but hey, we'll
and again, as you always say, Ben, to the listeners, don't forget, you can always come out to your website or my website, get the show notes. If for anything we didn't cover, you'll be able to see the stories and see the links and all that good stuff. So
absolutely. No, but hey, this has been a lot of fun, and I think we're making good pace, and we can go ahead and skip on down to story number 7.
Okay, story number 7. And I have to say, my wife was extremely interested in this, and you'll laugh when I read the headline. The Navy invented a device to prevent people from talking. And my wife goes, I want one of those to point at you, buddy. Anyway, Popular Mechanics is the source for this one. Kyle Mitsukami is the author, and the U.S. Navy. And by the way, I want to make mention, the device you see in the photo in the show notes is a preliminary large-scale version of this technology. The intent is to make a handheld thing. So here we go. The U.S. Navy has invented a new handheld device to disable a target person from being able to speak. The handheld acoustic hailing and disruption device records a person's speech, and transmits it back to the speaker, disrupting their concentration. Okay, so here's how it works. A target's speech is directed back to their ears twice, once immediately and once after delay. This delay factor creates a delayed auditory feedback experience, which alters the speaker's normal perception of their own voice. Now, in normal speech, a speaker hears their own words with a slight delay, and our brains are accustomed to this feedback. But by introducing another audio feedback source within a sufficiently long delay, the speaker's concentration is disrupted, and it becomes difficult, if not impossible, to continue speaking. So you can see why my wife was so interested in this.
And honestly, I could probably replicate this right now. Let's see, audio capability. Yeah, we can try this just a little bit, and hopefully this doesn't get too unbearable. If it does, I'll apologize right away. Ralph, if you want to go ahead and try, maybe going over a point. Let's see, maybe this works.
Okay, well, our next story, Ben, is Ford announces Ion Park for electric vehicle battery production. Faintly. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Ford announces Ion Park for electric. I guess the delay is too long, or it's too much in the background or something.
And of course, that's just me messing with my soundboard. But yeah, whenever I have to do this, and Craig, of course, was a longtime radio professional, so he's used to having cans that he can hear himself in,
yes,
in his own ears. And you've been in radio long enough that you in a more professional studio, you do that. I honestly could not do it. It was so just like this article, it gridlocked my brain. Hearing myself just moments after, and of course you can train yourself, but to a lot of people, definitely. And I've heard that that's also something that they're using with kind of riot techniques and things like that.
Yes.
Man,
it's oh my goodness, I gotta tell you, in Portland, Oregon, not to digress too much, we've had such horrible problems with rioters on the left and the right. I'm not taking sides here, but they just screaming and yelling. Well, if you could have these disruptor things pointed at the crowds both ways, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. Let them talk to themselves and talk it out amongst themselves. I completely get you, but yeah, no, it's. I'm just saying that it's a phenomena that anyone who has messed with the audio, and this may have even happened to yourself when you're trying to set up Zoom or things like that, where you have it, repeat in your own ears. Oh my God, it's so immediate, and it's so. I guess the best part about this, and not often with the military do you get this, but it's completely painless. I guess it's just something that disrupts your brain in a way.
Yeah, you're not hurting the person. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Physically. Yeah, of course. But of course. Very, very cool. And again, something that I have experienced firsthand. So there you go. Story number 7. Story number 8. Ford has actually, and of course, Ralph, we bring up Tesla all the time because Tesla kind of has like the most, I don't know, I would say the most exciting, and I think they do. I think whenever you talk about Tesla, they grab the headlines, they grab your attention. What is Tesla doing
sexy.
Next? Yes, exactly. But when it comes to Ford, I think Ford has really been amping up their electric division in a very exciting way. So what is story number 8?
Yeah. Ford is deadly serious about going all electric, honest to God. And so, of course, Chevy has been working very hard too and having some blips. And then we mentioned Toyota, of course.
And GM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So here we go. So this comes from a really fun website, Teslarati.com. So it's kind of, a Tesla enthusiast vain site, but yet they're reporting about what's going on with Ford because they take a broader view than just Tesla vehicles. So anyway, here headline is Ford announces Ion Park for electric vehicle battery production and research. Again, from Teslarati.com, a fun website. Story by Joey Klender. So here we go. Recently, Ford Motor Company announced that it will establish an electric vehicle battery cell production and research and development facility in Romulus, Michigan, hooray, in the United States, called Ford Ion Park. The 270,000 square foot facility will include world-class equipment for electrode, cell, and array design research with the goal of advancing manufacturing engineer and promoting innovation. In specific, Ford's goal is to figure out the challenges behind battery cell constraints while exploring new technologies that could yield increased range, performance, and lifespan for electric vehicle batteries. And then in related news recently, Toyota Motor Corporation recently announced it expects to spend more than $13.5 billion by 2030 to develop battery technology further. And so obviously, without a doubt, the world's auto industry is racing to bring us to an all-electric future. And I may have mentioned this previously in last month or last couple months, but back in April, my wife and I purchased a RAV4 Toyota Prime plug-in hybrid. So for the first 45 miles of driving after charging the vehicle with the plug-in hose deal, we're all EV. Then it shifts into traditional hybrid mode. So there's an EV only battery and a traditional hybrid mode battery. And I can't tell you how great it is to drive in all EV mode for those first 45 miles. It is an ethereal experience of smoothness, and you can't verbalize it. You got to experience it. So I'm all on board with this all electric stuff. If they can get the charging time down much faster, and if we can improve battery technology, and that recycling story about Elon Musk and crew earlier in the show is a good step in the right direction, making it more sustainable as well.
Right. Yeah. And there's lots of technology aimed at that. We did one about, I think it was like Norway or Sweden, having electric buses and then being able to charge them from wires overhead.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was another one about wireless charging through road systems, where when you install roads, you install these wireless charging systems, and then you, of course, beam energy up through the road system. I mean, there's lots of ways to make batteries last longer and just do better. I was actually curious, kind of reading here behind the scenes about patents and, the War of the Currents, which is a whole phase in, the late 1800s with,
AC versus AC. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And and I'm trying to wonder and trying to read out about these patents and how it all kind of ended, because of course now you can have AC and DC currents for their intended purposes, and it was patented, and of course it was broken down, and just for the betterment of us all, the patents were kind of thrown away so that everyone could use whatever they needed. So I'm kind of curious, Ralph. Do you think in the next, 10 years, I would really hope in less than 10 years, when are we going to come together and kind of come out with, I get that doing research in battery technology is very profitable. Whoever has the best batteries stands to make a lot of money. But I feel like to better get to a place where batteries are ubiquitous, I feel like we need to come together in some way to share research when it comes to battery technology.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. Speculating on time frame, I don't know, but as you were speaking, I was thinking, go back to the history of electrical current in this country. Your point's really well made. Until they bottom out on this and said, okay, this is what we're going to use, and this is how we're going to transport energy, and this is how the plugs are going to look like in everybody's homes. And once they got that standardized, so that I can go to the store and buy any outlet, any light switch, whatever, and know that it's going to work in my home. And it's then the economic opportunities and benefits for all of us, industry, consumers, everybody, just exploded, right? And so you make an interesting point with this electric car stuff. The charging stations, they need to be uniform. I believe the Tesla plug thing is different than mine.
Right.
Mine's more universal, if you want to call it that. I think we have to get to that universality as quickly as possible, just like the history of electric power and electric appliances and equipment and so forth. So who knows? But I think we're on a really fast track to get there. I think there's so much motivation, at least in the automobile business, to get there, that I think you're going to see significant. 10 years from now, when we talk, it'll be a very interesting conversation.
Right. Yeah. And I just want it to be as good as possible, as fast as possible, obviously as a consumer, but the environment's been getting, especially the last couple of months, through, Ralph, all it takes is a couple of heat waves and suddenly it's a priority.
Gosh.
So,
oh my gosh, you got it. You got it.
Yep. Good luck to Toyota. Good luck to, of course, Ford and everyone else. They're researching it. Important. Looks like we're back to the gut. Ralph, I hope that your gut lately has been okay, because it seems to be, something of a topic.
Focused.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
But story number 9, and then Ralph, we're going to skip around and through the rest of the stories.
You got it.
Story number 9.
Sounds good. So story number 9 comes from Forbes, written by Lakin Brooks. Headline: World's first artificial intelligence designed to detect gastric cancer was recently announced. So this is really kind of neat. I love these medical stories. So this is another great example, no duh, of how artificial intelligence is impacting medicine. And I got to tell you, AI and medicine are on fire in a very positive way. So each year, about 1 million patients around the globe are diagnosed with stomach cancer. I actually would have thought that'd be much more. Recently, researchers at Tel Aviv-based IBEX Medical Analytics announced the world's first, they say, artificial intelligence designed to detect gastric cancer. Now, here's how it works. The IBEX Medical Analytics AI algorithms analyze images of biopsies, and their AI solution then detects cancerous cells within the biopsy and can pinpoint their location and even grade the tumor. And insights gained by the AI system are also used to help streamline pathology lab workflow processes by automating the ordering of additional diagnostic tests for a biopsy, which previously required review by a pathologist. So that, I think, bit I just said is probably the most important thing about this story. So according to the IBEX Medical Analytics team, pathologists who use their artificial intelligence algorithms during diagnosis enjoyed a significant 37% productivity gain, meaning they could review almost 40% more cases. So anything that helps speed up pathology testing and so forth, of course, is a great step forward.
Right. Yeah. That seems to be the goal for a lot of these AI systems, is not to be 100% perfect and, catch everything, but to just do that initial, that might be cancer, just kind of flag it. The first time.
Exactly.
So we have seen that before with Google and their DeepMind and all their algorithms, but hey, AI is helping so many fields. So that's, okay. So there's that story. I hope it works out well. And hey, technology and medicine are going to be one and the same here soon. You can't have one without the other.
Amen.
Now story number 13, though, I could not resist, because I'll admit, that's an ugly mugshot, but it had the word iPhone in it. And I was like, you know what?
Yes.
This could be fun. So what is this?
This is fun. This is really good. It comes from CNET, story by Monisha Ravasetti. And the headline was, your next iPhone, and for that matter, any small electronics, your next iPhone could be built with tools inspired by ant teeth. We're talking about the insect. Yeah. Pretty wild. Anyway, here's the deal. So to keep I never even thought about this, by the way. So here we go. To keep consumer electronics shrinking in size, engineers need to build super small, yet tremendously strong instruments to make constructing increasingly tiny gadgets possible. You kind of forget about the manufacturing part of these, your your smartwatch or whatever the case may be, as we're getting smaller and smaller, right? Mm-hmm. So the engineers look around for inspiration. And so here we go. Thinner than a strand of human hair. Let that sink in for a second. Thinner than a strand of human hair. And ants' miniature teeth can easily cut through sturdy leaves. It all has to do with the teeth's even arrangement of zinc atoms, which allow for the equal distribution of force each time an ant bites through something. Scientists at the U.S. Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Richmond, Washington, recently published a study on the composition of ant teeth in the journal Scientific Reports. The team found that the zinc atoms in an ant's tooth, which again are responsible for the super piercing and cutting capabilities, were distributed in a surprisingly uniform manner rather than in clumps. Now, it's wild. Applying the concept of evenly spread atoms to make tools designed to construct tiny consumer electronics products, they said, would offer a twofold benefit. The tools would be cheaper because a smaller amount of costly, stronger components would be necessary, and they'd also be more efficient as less force would be required during use. That's the ant's ace in the hole, that bit that the less force is required. I thought this was just such a bizarre but creative way of looking to nature for an answer to help us with a super high-tech construction problem.
Definitely, and surprisingly, it happens all the time. I think one of the most efficient arrays of solar was, I think, looking at like an oak tree, and of course that goes into the Fibonacci sequence. It's like 113, whatever it is. But yeah, looking at trees to figure out how to make solar cells better, and looking at fish to make to make propellers underwater work better. It happens all the time, and it's Ralph, I mean, we've had maybe, a good 2,000-3,000 years to really get our technology down. Mother Nature has had a couple billion, or at least hundreds of million.
Well put. Yes. Very good point.
She's much better at it than we are in some regards. But with that being said, story number 14 might be a little bit too scientific for the last 3 or 4 minutes we have here. So story number 10, number 12? Though,
you like 10? Okay.
Yeah. Story number 10, I think, was a little bit more my speed.
Yes, this is fun. This is really good. So, headline here from Popular Mechanics, story by Sarah Wells. New study proves that humans can develop a sixth sense. This is fun. As animal goes, our ability to see, smell, hear, taste, and touch are relatively limited. Mm-hmm. We cannot smell as well as dogs, see as many colors as a mantis shrimp, or find our way home using the Earth's magnetic poles as sea turtles do. But scientists now say we can learn a sixth sense, bat-like echolocation. So researchers at the Center for Information and Neural Networks in Osaka, Japan, recently published a paper documenting how humans can use echolocation, or the ability to locate objects through reflected sound, to identify the shape and rotation of various objects in complete darkness. You'll see where this is going. As bats swoop around objects, as you may know, they send out high-pitched sound waves and then bounce back to them at different time intervals. This helps bats learn more about the geometry, texture, or movement of an object. The new Japanese research suggests that, this is an inspirational thing here, guys. The new Japanese research suggests that if humans can similarly recognize these three-dimensional acoustic patterns, it could literally expand how we see the world. The scientists hope that further developing this capability, and by the way, the article goes into so much more depth than we can go here to help explain how this could possibly be. But again, the scientists hope that further developing this capability could one day help humans perceive their spatial surroundings in a different way. For example, helping totally blind or visually impaired users better sense the shape and features of objects around them. I think that application for the totally blind could be possibly profound. What I wonder about is, bats do the super high pitched sounds outside of our range of hearing. If I believe that's correct. What would we do for humans to be able to accomplish this without driving people around them crazy, right? But you need to read the entire article to get a better sense of what the idea is all about.
Right, Rob. And by the way, there's like 2 or 3 more stories that we didn't get to, so we're gonna kind of call it there. And Ralph, we have about a minute, but a couple of things kind of stood out. So I kind of knew about the smelling like a dog, and that they can smell better. The mantis shrimp, though, I might have heard about it in the past, but Ralph, do you know how many colors a mantis shrimp can see?
Because I don't know.
We can see, humans can perceive 3 colors: red, green, and blue, and everything are mixtures of that. How many colors can a mantis shrimp see, Ralph?
I don't know. Do you have the trivia answer? I'd love to hear it.
I do. Take a guess.
Whip it on me. 20,000.
Very high. Jelly beans would not be your forte, but no, 12. So humans can see, of course, red, green, blue, and mantis shrimp can see 12 different colors on the UV spectrum. Because of course
that's wild. Isn't that something? And dogs, I think, have I've heard a 10,000 times greater sense of smell than humans. I believe that.
So when it comes to smell, and this is something that I want people to realize, because even in my own life, I hear people say it all the time. It's not that your dog smells your dirty socks 10,000 times more acutely, kind of stronger than you do. It's that your dog can smell your socks, the food that you cooked last night, the bed sheets. Dogs smell 10,000 times wider, not stronger. So they can
That's an excellent point.
So, and of course, that's how police dogs work, because they can pick up those little sense of smell in that wide spectrum that we just get overwhelmed with. So stuff like that. And by the way, Ralph, to your point, this is back in 2015. They actually did create an ultrasonic echolocation helmet that anyone can use.
Oh, great. So, thanks for looking that up. That's so cool.
Stuff like that. But hey, Ralph, that's so cool. I would say that's a great tagline for your show here every single month. Everything that you talk about is just so cool, and we thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this with us. Ralph, until next month, second Friday of every month, I want to thank you so much. Everyone, have a great day. Show notes, Computer America, Ralph Bond site. Everyone, have a great one. Bye.